Bah. I got jacked by the Illuminati. Illuminati shutting me down once again. But it's all good. I'm going to put the link for the new stream in the old stream chat. It's all good though. I don't know why that happens, honestly. I can't tell which is the old stream. Let's see. That is the fully old stream. Man! It's all good though. Like I said, it's not a big deal. This is the stream that I'm in right now. This is the real stream. I'm watching it. Okay. Okay, we'll let everyone come over. Man, I was just getting good. I was just starting to go hard on it. And then, it's all good though. Okay, people are coming over. I'm going to just quickly repost this link. But it's all good. We're just going to keep it going. Boom. Alright, cool. We'll wait just like 2 seconds. I don't want to like make you guys wait. We'll wait just like 2 seconds. Oh, it's all good though. Illuminati hour. That hasn't happened in a while, so I feel okay about it. If it happens like every time, then I feel like I have to do something about it. But I feel like it's been like once every like 6 to 10 times. It often doesn't happen for a while. Okay. Just talk about something cool for like 30 seconds while I'm getting it going here. I got a cool drawing over here. I could pull that up, but then I have to like get up and stuff. Because I mastered the intro, I know Internet Demons cast it out. Alright, let's just do it. Let's just keep going. Let's keep going. I'm going to press the button. I want to keep the vibe going, and I'm going to press the Scene 2 button. Boom. And we are back. Looking at Vermeer, getting it popping. And let's do this. So I'm just going to pull up my phone just so I know, honestly, so I know if anything happens. I hope that's not why that happened, though. Cool. Perfect. Maybe it happened because I pulled it up on my phone. Could my internet really be that bad? Is that possible? I feel like that's impossible, right? Oh, you guys can hear me, right? I think we're good. Let's see. Mic. Bum, 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 bum. All right, cool. All right. So I want to get painting, so let's do this thing. So I was talking about, basically, I think you guys got the point of what I was saying, that I really like how this image kind of naturally like leads you into reading it like a book, and that's often what we're going for here. So I thought we'd take a look at it, and then we'll kind of just do a picture based off of it. But I'm going to kind of just go through the main like things that I see here and what I think about this. There is like, you know, there's like scholarship on like, oh, he read this book, and he based this image off this other painting and stuff like that, but I'd kind of rather look at this as though we're someone that doesn't know all of that stuff, because frankly that's how most people would experience it. So in the middle we have this woman, and she's wearing these pearls. She's very nicely dressed. She's wearing white and blue. I happen to know from reading about it that white is supposed to be like purity. We've talked about that a lot here. Blue associated with heaven, Queen of Heaven, Virgin Mary wears blue, but she's obviously not Virgin Mary. She's obviously some like Dutch woman or something like that. And she has her hand on her heart. Allegory of faith, heart relates to that, obviously. But what I think is cool is that she has her foot up on this globe over here. So actually, when I was initially looking at this, the painting has two titles. It's sometimes called Allegory of Faith, and then sometimes it's called Allegory of the Catholic Faith. It doesn't really change it too much either way, but I think it's interesting someone along the way like decided to change it one way or the other. So sometimes I was looking at this, and I thought maybe this woman is supposed to be like the church or something, you know? And she has her foot up on this globe, like she has like dominion over it, you know? Like she's sort of ruling over this whole earth in a way, but you could also see it the other way, like maybe it's faith that is kind of like grounded on the earth. So I can kind of like see it both ways there. And she's leaning on this table, and on the table there's this gold chalice, so it could be for the Eucharist or something like that. It could not be. Some people say this is even supposed to be like priests, like vestments or a robe or something down here. I don't really see that, but just letting you guys know. There's this giant book, Relationship of Faith to like scholarship, reading, learning, and stuff like that. It's pretty obvious. There's this crucifix over here, and a little cool detail that's easier to see in person because of how the painting is varnished and stuff. But you can see if we come in all the way here, there's this little, you can see this probably like teal little line right here. I'm drawing with my mouse. This is a crown of thorns. So there's a crown of thorns sitting up on this book. If you're here, you probably are familiar with that as a symbol. And suspended above her, yeah, is this like bubble. And I really, really love this. Sometimes I use the bubble in my art, or like a glass bubble or something. I just feel like it so beautifully communicates like fragility in a way. Like, you know, it's kind of depicting the whole physical situation here, which is reflecting. You can see in the bubble actually is this like reflection of the whole room. It's like reflected in this like fragile situation, which I think is like really cool. On one hand, I feel like it kind of represents like the capriciousness and like the fragility of like the physical world. You know, we're in this like physical realm that's fallen, so things change and die and like change around all the time. It's also kind of like a mental thing, like maybe it's about how fragile your mind is, like, you know, it's reflecting the room around her. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's kind of my job as like a painter, I guess. Anyway, behind her is this scene of the crucifixion. I love paintings in paintings. I think that's like a really like sophisticated thing to do. And it's also kind of cool because I think this is intentional, obviously. The painting is more like dull and brown, and people are wearing these like earth-colored robes and stuff like that. But she is more decked out in these like refined elements. So I think that's kind of like an intentional contrast. So all that is probably pretty obvious, but if I was going to go a little bit deeper, she's on this platform and she's up from this checkered floor. So pretty much always in like symbolic stuff, a checkered floor, even in like, you know, Freemasonry stuff, obviously that wasn't a thing at Vermeer's time, but it kind of intuitively represents like the polarized world because you have black and white separated on this floor. So it represents kind of the world of opposites, the world of like duality. And I think it also, for that reason, ties into like chess symbolism and stuff like that. Who knows if Vermeer would have thought about that, but it kind of naturally has this connotation of like this ordered world wherein things are, sometimes they're black, sometimes they're white, and they're kind of like separated in this like systematic way, and you kind of have to operate within these like systemic confines, I guess you could say. Some people listening to this are probably like, you know what, you think like Vermeer really thought of that? Maybe not verbally, maybe he didn't like really like sit down and write it out, but in a way, yeah. I mean, if you're a painter and you're working on this, you know, you can make the floor wooden, you can make the floor anything you want. So he decided to make it this way, and yeah, I think subtly it does communicate that. What is the dopest thing here, in my opinion, is that it's all behind this veil. And I feel like that kind of gives it like a really interesting reading. You know, it's like we're peeking behind this veil, and that kind of is like an allegory of, or an aspect of like faith in general, like trying to like peek behind the veil and like look behind the veil. So I think that's really dope. I just want to make sure I'm still doing well transmitting. I got the green light, people in the chat, no one's saying anything bad in the chat. Cool. So that would be kind of enough, you know, the veil, it's like kind of obvious. But on the veil, and actually the stuff I've read about this painting hasn't mentioned this, but I think it's obviously intentional. On the veil is this guy leading this horse. And I feel like that must be on purpose, because for something like the church and faith and stuff like that, there is this element of like it leading you and guiding you. So I just thought it was such a like sophisticated thing that you're coming around here and then just tucked up in the veil. And even the way it's painted differently than the rest of the image. So it's kind of like woven into this tapestry. This guy leading this horse. I don't know. When I was looking at this in real life and I found that, I thought that was pretty awesome. And again, that's kind of the thing that I'm going for in a lot of my images here, is like people looking and finding things and being like, oh, that must be on purpose. But, you know, it's so small in the corner. Anyway, more obvious stuff. So she's on this pedestal up from the world. So that's pretty cool. She's like elevated from the rest of this other stuff. So we'll probably do something like that when we break this out. There's a golden apple at her floor. I think it's just an apple. I don't really think it's supposed to be a golden apple. A golden apple is a thing in like Greek mythology. Maybe we'll use something like that. I thought when I was thinking of doing this that it might be cool to have like a golden apple like pagan Greek mythology, and then like a red apple like biblical style. But we'll see what we want to do there. Apple, that's obvious, original sin and stuff. And then down here, this is pretty cool. So there's this snake. Gotta have a snake in literally every picture. And the snake is crushed and it's like bleeding out. And whenever I saw this in person, I actually thought this was a giant book. And I thought that was a really, really cool move to have this snake getting crushed by a book, because it's like knowledge, you know, crushing out this like evil force. But actually, if you look here, it's actually not a book. I was reading about it, and this is actually a cornerstone. So it's kind of cool in like a different way, you know. The cornerstone obviously has a lot of symbolism that we'll talk about probably. But it's kind of cool. Snake getting crushed out by the cornerstone. And that was pretty much the main things that I kind of was thinking about here. I think that the chair is cool. I don't there's a point where I step over it where I'm like, okay, I can't really tell how much is my own personal view and how much of it like would have been present in like Vermeer's mind. But I feel like the chair allegory of the faith, chair, St. Peter's chair, right? Maybe I'm making like a huge stretch there, but in my own mind, that's like definitely what I would be thinking of. And I thought that was interesting too, because like, you know, not to like take sides or anything, but like whatever type of Christian you are now, because we're so far down the historical timeline, like how you feel about that like particular chair plays like kind of a role in it, which I think is kind of interesting. And on the chair, there's this blue kind of just ambiguous like robe or something like that. Honestly, I don't really know what this is. I guess it could be like a pillow or something, and then I could really go like full schizophrenic and be like, oh, you know, it's blue, like Virgin Mary's robe, and it's like a pillow, so it's like soft to sit on, like Mary is this like, you know, aqueduct of mercy, because otherwise this hard wooden chair would be like so uncomfortable. But then I feel like I'm kind of just reading in like, you know, slightly schizo like symbolism, but also that is kind of a cool analysis. So anyway, what I wanted to do is switch over to the desk cam and kind of just use this as like a jumping off point for our picture here. So that's what we're going to do right now. And I'm actually really amped about it because, like I said, I've been wanting to do it for a while. So we're just going to do it right now. I'm going to grab my little ruler and we'll go a little softer than normal. I am going to make the normal like border that I always make, but I'm going to lay it out in pencil instead of the hard edge that I normally do. Let's see, is there anything else I should say? Not really. Allegory paintings are one of my favorite types of like theological images, and we haven't talked about them at all, which is interesting because basically like all we do is kind of make allegorical images in a way. So I thought it would be cool to hit like an official one. Yeah, actually, so I love when I do the shows and I can keep my eye on the chat. Yeah, someone said chair is like an open invitation. Yeah, that's really true actually, man. That's actually really, really good. I really like that you said that. Yeah, when we do ours, maybe we'll have two chairs. Maybe we'll have like an elevated chair and like a de-elevated chair. But yeah, chair is like an open invitation is really tight. I also really like this picture because I like that you can read it whereas she's like a faithful woman, or like she's supposed to be like the church, or it's like, does that really like matter? Because for some readings that would change it like a lot. The church is like capital T, capital C, I guess you could say, is like one of my favorite kind of like concepts, I guess you could say, within Christianity. I know there's like obviously like a literal church, so I don't want to say it's like just a concept, but it's something I think about a lot, I guess, because, you know, I really don't feel like I'm part of like any community, and then like, you know, when I'm reading and it's talking about like feeling like you're a part of this like larger community, I think that's like a really beautiful thing. Okay, so I pulled the image up in Photoshop, we got this going, got the pencil, got the transmitter, it's perfect timing. It's exactly when we usually start the painting, is around 7:20, 7:30 or so. So let's do this thing. And I was thinking about breaking out the watercolor pencils a little bit, but honestly, I feel like I should just dig in. I feel like I should just go for it. I mean, we could start with some of the watercolor pencils, but then we're getting like a little soft, we're getting a little delicate, and I feel like, especially after having to restart, let's just go for it. I'm definitely going to lean in to the color scheme that he is going on here. And because of my own style, we usually have to pick some kind of like line color in the beginning. So let's just do it blue. Let's just start with some ultramarine blue. I don't think we've done a picture where we start with the blue lines, at least not on my watch yet. So let's do it. Someone said you mentioned Kansas before. Are you coming through? Yeah, I'm coming through Kansas. I'm going to roll through on my way to the big CO. So if there's any Kansas tips, people should definitely let me know. I'm going to grab my paper towels here. And let's just do this. I kind of want to I don't want to just copy the painting, just so you guys know what I'm thinking right now. I don't want to just copy the painting. I mean, you know, yeah, we could do that. I could just render the painting like in my style, quote unquote, and that would be cool. But I think it'd be a little cooler to just maybe like do our own thing a little bit, using the painting as like a jumping off point. Let's see what we want to do. So I'm going to make sure this brush is dry, which it is, and let's just get it going. I'm going to close the video on my phone just in case that had a factor with us getting stuck on the visual. Cool. And I really like also, it's kind of a weird observation, but it probably seems to be a little out of character, but as a painter, like you kind of have to think about these things. I really like the type of beautiful that the girl is in this painting. I'm actually just going to pull it up really quick. We're going to go back super fast. Just because I feel feel like I should make this observation. I really like the type of beautiful that this woman is in this painting, and maybe it wasn't intentional because he's like in a certain place and there's only frankly like so many women around, But I like to think that it was intentional because like she's not really. I'm not disparaging her at all. She's not like hypersexual. You know what I mean? Like she's not like this hypersexual type of beautiful, which I suppose could also be a product of the time. Maybe of course he's not going to paint some like sexy woman, some like all caps sexy woman in the painting. But there's something about her features, the way like her jaw is like so soft and her face is like more round and her hair is kind of like up this way. And then even just the way her shoulders fall. I mean, maybe if you're not an art person, that kind of sounds probably weird that I'm thinking about that, but it is something I noticed, the type of beauty that different painters are drawn to and how they like deploy it. And there's something about this kind of like super soft, like Northern European kind of like style woman that I just feel like is so perfect for this image. I really can't really say why. She's not really like hyper skinny. Again, that could be like a product of the time period also, but I don't know. There's something about it that I think is just perfect for an allegory of faith. Maybe that's all I can say about that. Let's go back to the desk cam because we're going to use kind of like the same style, honestly, right now. Perfect. Someone said, are you making an allegory of faith? Are you aiming for an allegory related to faith, church, etc.? I don't really know. Well, I guess there's a very subtle distinction there. I kind of just wanted to jump off from this painting, and we'll be thinking about visual symbols of faith and stuff like that. I don't want to nail it in too hard to one way or the other. It's also interesting because we have this very wide format, whereas he didn't. So I'm thinking what we're probably going to do is end up using like a huge window or something just to like overcome that challenge. But not challenge, that difference. Okay, and let's do it. Sorry, I'm just configuring these freaking windows. I have like 100 windows open, and right now we are finally good. Perfect. Okay, so obviously we're going to start with this woman, and I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to worry too much about making this perfect or anything like that. And I'm just going to honestly paint her head in kind of like round. We're still going to be like in my stylistic world. So I'm just going to go for it and paint her in with the kind of like round head. Nice. And I really wasn't being, I'm not just saying this because, if I felt like I had to say it, I probably would, but that's not why I'm saying this. I really wasn't being like euphemistic. I really do feel like there are, as much as it's like so cliche to be like, oh, there's all different kinds of beautiful women. I really do think that in painting, like it's interesting, like kind of beauty that I see deployed. Raphael also has really good taste in women. So I'm just going to go for it. And I think what we'll do here, perfect, is I'm kind of just going to boldly like paint her in so we can move on to other things. But I do want to kind of get the style of her dress, so we got that. And I really like that she's clutching her heart. I like that she's clutching her heart because I think we kind of associate that with like shock or like death in a weird way, but it's kind of this oddly intimate pose that we're finding her in. So that's what we're going to do right now. Perfect. Someone said, yeah, that bubble symbol has got me thinking. Yeah, it's a thing. It's something deployed by like a lot of like different theological systems. Buddhism talks about life as like a bubble and a dream and all that stuff all the time. I don't subscribe to that, obviously, but yeah. And she's got these kind of like poofy clothes on, but honestly, I'm not going to worry too much about the clothes. We are going to give her this very low cut shirt just because I feel like it's kind of nice looking. And I don't know. How do we want to do her hair? I think we should just go for it. I feel like somehow it tied up in a bun fits. I could read some like weird theological symbolism into it, like it's tied up, it's like sitting on top of her head, it's like managed and maintained, but also I just think it'll look kind of cool. And I feel like for this one, since I don't want to make it look frankly kind of like a cartoon, I'm going to go with these like shut eyes. I'm just going to go with these line eyes. Perfect. Just like that. Maybe I'll make it a little bit thicker because people are looking at it on screen, so I want people to be able to see what's going down. So I'll make it a little bit thicker. And then we could have one eye closed, one eye open. That would be really perfect for something about a kind of like theological image. Let's do it. Let's do it. I feel like anytime I feel like I shouldn't do something, we should just go for it. So I gave her one eye closed, one eye open. I feel like that's perfect because so much of faith and stuff like that is about looking inside at your own life, but then also looking outward at like the outward life also. So I feel like one eye closed, one eye open. She's got one eye looking inwards, one eye looking outwards. That's also a thing in like what's it called? Like mythology, and Carl Jung talks about that too. There's all these myths of like someone who will lose their sight in one eye and then gain spiritual sight because of it. They'll kind of become like spiritually empowered after losing an eye. That's a thing in some Norse myths and things like that. So I'm not going full pagan style, but I do like that imagery. Whoever leaning against the table, I feel like somehow like her leaning against this thing, it's like she's not like supporting herself entirely. I feel like that also fits like the kind of allegory of faith situation. And let's see, I'm going to kind of give her... Nice. Now, I really want to get her foot up on this... maybe I should bring the camera down a little bit. Perfect. I really want to get her foot up on this kind of globe situation over here, so I'm just going to go for it with the dress. Let's just go for it. If it doesn't look good, we can always kind of manage it or do something else about it. And then I'm feeling this blue so much, I feel like we might just go back and kind of like shade it in with the blue. I'm going to put in this kind of like, there we go. I want like a little lip of her dress right there. And it'll come down, and then because I really want to get the dress look in this kind of like illustrative style, I'll have it come down like that too. It's going to look a little flat at first, but once we shade it in a little bit, it'll be all good. You can probably hear that dog barking outside. Once again, the Illuminati has attempted to silence me. Now via dogs. But it's all good. And I'm just going to put her little foot like poking out. Just like that, actually. Yeah, that's perfect. And we'll have her other foot kind of poking out over here. I'm going to leave her barefoot. We could read into that because there's like a whole biblical thing about being barefoot and stuff. But maybe she just looks barefoot. Okay, and we're going to throw her foot up on a globe. I could have put her higher up, but it's fine. We'll just kind of put the globe in like this. Oh, perfect. Perfectly fits. Perfect. And the question is, in our picture, should we make it the Earth? We could just make it a sphere. Different, like, esoteric or even like just theological authors talk about how a sphere is like the most fitting shape for divine things. You know, the earth is theoretically, depending on what theory you subscribe to, a sphere. The cosmos is a sphere, the sphere of the heavens. You know, a circle is kind of naturally like a very perfect shape as opposed to something like a cube or like a tetrahedron or some weird stuff. So we could just make it a sphere. I guess we'll make it a globe. We'll make it the earth. When I make the earth, I like to kind of paint in the edge of the United States. That's actually what I'm going to do right now. Get Florida in there. And then I never really get all of South America in, but I'm not from there. So, sorry, that's just how it's going to go right now. And painting kind of a very like distorted, weird Europe. It's not really going to look like Europe, but I'm not from there either. Africa also kind of has to peel around the border. And just as like a little discrete visual reference, something I like to do a lot, is I'm actually going to throw in Atlantis, just as a little island. I'm not really making like a theological statement here, but I kind of just like to do it, so if anyone looks really hard at the picture, they'll see there's this weird island in the middle of the ocean, and like, if they don't know about Atlantis, they'll wonder why. And if they do know, they'll be like, yo, that's sick, that guy knows about Atlantis. Let's shade in a little bit. Let's get a little shading going, just because we don't want the whole thing to... It would be really tight if we did the whole painting in blue, honestly. Maybe we will do that. So we'll paint in her hair. Give her some dark hair. Yeah, that looks dope. And let's do a little shading. We never do shading on the show. So I'm going to throw in some shadow on her neck and stuff like that. That looks really tight. Tiniest hint, not to be dirty, tiniest hint of cleavage, just because she is a woman. We'll kind of hint at that over here with her shirt too, but we don't want to like make her like super sexual. And we'll paint in a little shadow. We never do shading on the show. Big things I'm thinking. Do we want like a pattern on her shirt? No, it's fine. It's fine. So I'm just going to shade in the blue on her shirt. We don't want everything to be like too visual. And also, if we just throw down a little shading on her shirt, we can come back and put a pattern over it. The pattern also, you can get some cool symbolism in there. One time I painted this like girl, and then really, really tightly on the pattern in her shirt, I put these like tigers and lightning bolts. Then I painted this other girl, and then in her shirt in the pattern, she had these lions, and they were kind of like an allegory for like East and West. And I like doing stuff where it's like someone might not even notice, like we've been talking about. But we'll see if we want to do something like that. But for now, we'll just shade it in. Cool. That's not my dog barking, just for the record, although I am enjoying the ambient noise in the background. I recorded I'll tell you guys in a second. Okay, that looks pretty sick. Right now, just so you know where my head's at, we kind of have to decide if we're going to do this in all blue or not. In the interest of keeping things as exciting as possible, let's not go only blue. And I said we had to make that decision right then and there because I'm about to paint in her necklace. So if we're going to do all blue, obviously I would paint it in blue, but I'm not. In Vermeer's painting, she's wearing pearls. Pearls are kind of an interesting symbolic one. Pearls kind of represent tears. If you have a girlfriend or a wife, normally, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you get her pearls. It's like a beautiful gift. But classically, it's associated with like, crying and tears and stuff like that. If you look at Victorian images of like people that have died or something like that, often the picture will be surrounded by pearls if it's in a locket or something because the pearls represent tears. So here in our image, that actually would be kind of tight because, faith. I talk a lot about the dichotomy between like the way of the stone versus the way of like tears in terms of mystical paths. The Christian path being like the path of tears. But the thing is, this is one case where the materials are going to decide because I can't paint white on a white piece of paper. So I could outline them. Maybe I should. Now that I said it, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to outline them. And I think what we'll do is what could be like a really sophisticated, cool look, especially for like an allegorical painting. I haven't done this in a really long time. Is like each element of it could be in a different color. And that would look really, really, really tight. Yeah, that looks sick. That was such a good call. Ugh. Looks good. Looks good. Okay. Now we'll throw in her dress, and then we'll see what else we want to move on to. I also, we'll have to decide how weird we want to go with it, because, one thing that I talk about a lot, so Isidore asked me before, like, how do you develop like your own style with art? It's a really good question, and one of the main things is you start to get better at noticing and deciding when you have opportunities to do something and how you're choosing to do it. So like, for example, when I was like first starting out, let's say you're painting a girl like this and you're first starting out, maybe you're not going to think of, oh, I could put a pattern on her shirt. That wouldn't occur to you. And then as you get better, you're like, oh, well, I have another option. I could put a pattern on her shirt. And it's like another option opens there. And then you get more and more and more options like, oh, well, we could put something on her shoulder, or we could, if we put in like a halo or something, then we could make the halo a scene into something behind her. Maybe there's a halo. Maybe the halo is kind of big and like behind her, it's a window into like another world, and there's like trees and mountains and this halo behind her, things that you would never think of when you're starting out. So part of your style and what your style is how you choose to handle those options and see those options and stuff like that. If you look at someone, everyone's on a different level of painting and drawing, no one's at like the final level, but if you go and look at someone who, it doesn't matter who it is, but someone who you don't think is like incredible, you might notice that that's part of why you don't think that what they're making is incredible. You might notice that it's kind of like if how many options do I have knob is at 3, it could easily be turned to 4 or 5. And maybe my knob's at like 8 right now, but it could go up to like 10 or 11. I'm sure there's a ton of things that I, haven't considered, obviously. Anyway, so we're going to shade in her dress right now. And kind of the same deal. This is also giving me a little bit of a weird energy because I really like the flat and like illustrative nature of this, so I don't want to go too hard into like trying to be 3D world, but I think because of the subject matter, just a little bit of this kind of shading will be good. I'm going to put in a little bit of this right here. That's good too. Yeah. And it'll kind of come down a little bit. That's perfect. And I'm always telling people to draw still lives and stuff. I've drawn a lot of like drapery in real life, so it's not that I'm heavily drawing on that, but I have drawn like a lot of cloths hanging up and stuff like that. So I guess I am thinking about that a little bit. I can't really turn it off. Cool. That looks perfect. Looks perfect. Okay. We'll move on from the woman. I guess the thing is, since the woman... here's a cool idea. So since the woman is like an allegory for faith, what would be tight is I really would like to put a halo in, but let's see if we can do this. It would be really cool if the halo like looked like a halo, but if you look closer, it's like not really a halo. It's like part of like another object or something like that. So let's just kind of keep that in mind. I don't know how exactly we would do that, but it would be cool if we could get kind of like a circle shape behind her, but then it's not really a halo. Like I said, it's part of something else. In the picture, in the Vermeer picture, behind her right here is a painting. So we have to kind of decide how we want to do that. But let's just keep that in mind. That would be a really cool idea. Okay, so next up we have to move to either the table or the painting behind her. Let's kind of drop in the painting behind her, and I'm gonna bank on us having like a veil or something like that. So it's just something else we'll keep in mind. I feel like right now we have to decide if we're doing all blue or not. I feel like the idea of like isolated colors is so interesting. It's very like intriguing to me. I feel like we should do it. I feel like it would be kind of tight. So let's do it. So that means for the painting, we'll lean on the kind of Vermeer thing that we have going on where, we'll kind of like take direction from him a little bit. So in the painting behind her, it's very confusing. In the actual painting Vermeer made, the painting that is behind the woman, just to be clear, is really faded and brown, and I think it's kind of communicating this like humbleness and like antiquity because of that. So we're going to see if we're going to make a bold decision right now, which I think we are, and I think we should put the painting behind her in brown. I was thinking of a few colors. I was thinking of Venetian red, but the thing is that is going to be like, in case you haven't seen the show before, this is like Pompeii red. This is like rich red soil red, so I feel like that's not really the color we're looking for. I was thinking about burnt sienna, burnt umber, but these are really chocolatey. Burnt sienna, I would say, is almost characterized by being chocolatey. We want dull. We want, and again, this is part of how you develop your style, is how you get ready to work with watercolor and stuff. I mean, not watercolor, just color in general. We don't want like chocolate brown. We want like dull brown. We want like burlap sack brown, and I feel like that's what we're going to get from the raw umber. And we'll use those other colors for something else. We'll definitely use the rich red and all that stuff, but right now we'll do this. And just so you know what else I'm thinking, so the colors don't get too crazy, what I'm kind of thinking is that we'll low-key do like a discrete manifestation of the primary colors thing. So this is blue. This brown that I just laid out here, it's really a dark yellow, and then we'll use dark reds. So it'll be kind of like red, blue, and yellow, which is a very safe color scheme, but it'll be kind of like a discrete embodiment of that, like I'm saying. And we also have kind of a cool option here, because what are we going to do for the painting? We can put anything in the picture that's behind her. So what I'm going to do, let's see, she'll be leaning on a table. I don't want to have the painting and table intersecting, so let's just go for it. And I'm kind of just going to kick in this frame. That's pretty good. Bring it down a little bit more. And let's see, we'll kind of kick this over here a little bit. And I'm just going to have it be cut off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a little bit of shading in, because we are going to do that veil thing. So we'll kind of just have it like that. Kind of just preemptively put in a little shading for the veil. Perfect. When you're working with watercolor, you can always dab up with a paper towel. It's always a classy move. And you can see the tonal variation that we're going to get here is going to go really well with the blue. We'll paint in the rest of the frame. Let's see. So now I've made myself a weird situation because I don't want to smudge the paint. So I'm going to clock. It's like right about there, and we'll come down to, boom, right about there. Perfect. Having a frame picture inside another picture is obviously pretty meta. It's obviously a pretty cool technique to deploy. That's what we're doing right now. And we'll kind of just throw down the frame. We'll just throw it down with like kind of like thick brown. I feel like that's a good idea. We don't want the whole painting to be totally communicated with lines. We want a little bit of tone communicating stuff. What I mean by that is that you can always ask yourself when you're working, how am I communicating to the viewer? Sometimes it's just lines, like you can see with her necklace. How do you know it's a necklace? That's like always what you have to ask yourself. And there you know because it's outlined. it's obviously a necklace because it's lines telling you. But then her dress, how do you know it's folded and stuff? It's areas of tone. It's not line. It's areas of shading. And playing with that dichotomy can get you some pretty sophisticated effects. Even some of the more like modern painters that, you know, it's cool for people to like dislike if you're in our intellectual sphere, like Matisse and stuff like that. What you can appreciate about some of their paintings is where they sophisticatedly alternate between those two things. Because using areas of dark and light to communicate is like the essence of painting, but using line is like the essence of drawing. And you have people that are able to skillfully alternate between those two things. I was actually in a show. Not a show. I was at a museum looking at a Matisse retrospective a really long time ago, and I was standing there, and I was looking at this painting, and I turned to my friend, and we were both looking at the same painting for like 5 or 10 minutes. We were both like really into painting. We were both painters. I still am. And I turned to him, and I'm like, it was this painting of a woman laid out on this kind of like couch, I guess you could say, and parts of it were like communicated with line, and parts of it were areas of color, and it was just so good. And I was standing there, I turned to my friend, and I'm like, it's like he's drawing and painting at the same time. And this really old guy with a huge beard that behind us, that obviously I didn't see before, right when I said that, was like, yes, yes. And he got so excited. He was like, exactly. He was like, it's like drawing and painting at the same time. It's a really good like art bonding moment. Anyway, so what do we want to put in this frame back here? Well, he has the crucifixion. I feel like we're going to put this crucifix on the table right next to him. So it's like, yeah, we could do that. But let's see. I mean, you know, allegory of faith. I mean, we could put someone who has faith, like in the Bible. We could put some kind of like cosmological diagram. Faith. I don't want to say I'm coming up empty, but I'm kind of thinking like, what do we want to do there about that? Maybe we'll come back to it. Maybe we'll come back to that one. Let's let that float for a minute. Oh, someone said, this is a bit presumptuous, but you could put one of your own works into the picture. Yeah, that's funny, actually. That is funny, actually. Maybe we should do that. But we'll move on. We'll come back to that. We'll let the whole picture kind of develop together. And I'm going to deploy the Venetian red, and we're going to paint in this table and stuff that she's leaning on right here. This actually does look pretty cool already. All right. Someone said, I drank 2 winter melon bubble teas, ready to get mystical. Yes, I do not know what a winter melon is, but that does sound quite mystical. I haven't been eating any weird foods recently. Let's see. Drop down this Venetian red. Perfect. And we'll throw down this table. So we'll get the crucifix, we'll get the book, we'll get all that stuff going on. Maybe we'll put some other stuff on the table too. Like I said, we don't have to like fully just adhere to what Vermeer has done here. So again, just so you guys can get fully in my head, know what I'm thinking. So when you're drawing like this, when you're painting, I'm obviously not laying down anything with pencil, right? I'm kind of just going for it because we're all here together on the stream. I kind of like to use the line strategically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it out a little bit. I want to make sure, see, I kind of put myself in not a tough spot, but an interesting spot, because you can see this line over here goes behind her. I don't want to put the table exactly there because then your eye will read it as the same line. So I have to put it as low as possible while still making it look like she's leaning over here. So I think down here is pretty good. Cool. And I only made it that far just because we're going to put stuff on the table, so I don't want to close off any options preemptively for myself. I do like that there's this chalice here, so we're going to paint that in. We've talked about it before on a previous stream, but like the cup, the chalice, if you're going kind of like Jungian symbolism realm, I guess you could say, it's like a feminine symbol. It's receptive, it holds things, but within Christianity it's a little bit different in my opinion, because it's associated with wine. That has its whole thing going on. Perfect. And get this. I want that to be nice and straight, just because it'll look really weird if it's not. We'll make it kind of a big one too. Kind of big so it looks good in the painting. Perfect. And his is gold. I could make mine made of glass, but I'm not. I'm just going to put it in like that. Perfect. And we'll throw in some wine in there. Nice. that's going to be fun to shade in because it's like a cool like reflective object. Maybe made the base too big, but who really cares? Doesn't really matter. Other stuff. Well, let's get a book going on. A book is pretty solid for faith. It also kind of has the tension between like pure intellectualism and then also what's it called? Intellectualism and intuitivity. Perfect. That's actually funny. I was going to say it before, but I didn't. So many people ask me certain questions on Twitter, like in my DMs, which is flattering. I'm never like, oh my god, how dare you DM me, you know? And I always want to respond, especially when they're... I always want to respond, but if they're like important, pressing questions for someone's life, like people who are like... You know, people message me like, oh, I really use like drugs a lot. Like, you know, how do you have any advice for like stopping using drugs, or like more mundane stuff even, like, you know, oh, I'm kind of into the occult and like I see that you're, well, it's not really more mundane, but like, oh, I'm really into the occult and like I see that you're Christian, like, you know, how'd you get into that? Like, what's the deal with that? So you can see here, I made this line for the center of the book, axis a little bit too over this way. It's not a huge deal. I'm actually just going to lean in and make that the shadow on the page. We've talked a lot before about like, how do you not make mistakes? And what I just did right there is kind of the perfect example of like, the only way to not make mistakes is like by having an attitude wherein, you know, the things, you don't have a preconceived notion about how it's going to go. So if you quote unquote like do something wrong, it's not going to be like read as a mistake. It's kind of what just happened there. It's a little bit dark. It's darker than I would have wanted it to be, but it's okay. Maybe we can kind of play it off like it's like really intense shading on the book pages or something like that. Maybe the book's like stained with blood. We could just fully lean in. Boom. Let's see, how much can I dab it up? Oh, I can dab it up quite a bit. Cool. Perfect. If we can get it to be that level of tone, I would be cool with that actually, because if the book was like in shadow, that would actually be kind of tight. Because, of course, I am just kind of like winging this with you guys, but for faith, for an allegory of faith, it kind of would make sense for like a book to like be in the shadow in a way, because like it's not really about that. It's not really about like the legalistic and bookish nature of it necessarily, although it kind of is. And while this is wet, I'm actually just going to try and paint in the kind of like blurry writing in the book. It might be too wet. I might not really get the result I want, but let's see. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'll take that. Yeah, it's like I was saying about people messaging me and stuff. I always want to respond to the people who are like, oh, I'm really into like this occult and like esoterica stuff, but like you're Christian, like how'd that happen? So I was making a video where I was kind of just telling the whole story, and obviously it's going to be multiple parts because it's really, really long. But the funny thing is that as I was recording it, my dog was sleeping on the floor here, and she was barking in her sleep, and it was so fucking cute. So I'm like telling the story about like, yeah, Aleister Crowley and all that stuff, and in the background you can just hear like, because my dog's sleeping and having a dream where she's barking. So cute. Okay. Book, chalice. In his, he has the crown of thorns. How do we want to play that? We could put in like a crown of thorns, but maybe it'd be more interesting to have something that's like, you know, what's like the mundane equivalent of the crown of thorns? You know, is there one really? What's like the mundane equivalent of like something someone suffers with like normally? I don't know. We'll come back to that. But behind the wine glass, you know what I do want to put in is grapes. And I really like using the dichotomy of grapes and wine, and I feel like it's especially fitting for this because grapes like can mature into wine, but they don't necessarily do it, and I feel like somehow that's like perfect for faith. It's like it could go that route. You know, oh, that looks good. Nice. I like that actually. Get a little stem on there. Like, you know, it could mature into something nice, or you could kind of like mess it up. It's all about how you kind of like handle it. That's good. Nice. I like that a lot. What else? Yeah, hammer and nails. Yeah, Armor Christi. I was thinking about the Armor Christi because I posted that before. That's pretty good. Let's I don't want to cram too much stuff in here, so let's kind of table that. No pun intended. And we'll kind of just put in the rest of the table here. Perfect. And we'll kind of just go for it. What I think could be cool is I'm not going to put my tablecloth as low as his. His is like really, really low. Because I was thinking it would be cool if we can get something like hidden under the table, you know? That's kind of cool. It's like a parallel to the veil in a way. Oh, I didn't say this before, but I'm also really liking the way the dry brush is like coming out around here. It's giving... Oh, fuck, I just touched the page. Yeah, it's fine. It's giving kind of like a nice, like sophisticated look. So let's come in and we'll kind of like shade this in a little bit. The chalice and stuff. I'll go a little heavier on the shading because, you know, we kind of accidentally got that shading on the book. But it's all good. And I'm even going to put in some shadow. We'll just go full on. I have some shadow over here. And we'll even put some shadow underneath the book. It's kind of like it's like hanging off with this like dark shadow. Yeah, perfect. And we'll put some shading on the grapes too. And what could be under the table? I don't know. I think it's kind of like hiding something. Oh, you know what we'll do? This will be perfect. Ugh. Well, I don't know if we can fit it. It would be tight if we could do like a treasure chest or something under the table. I don't think that's going to happen because we don't really have enough room. That would be tight because it's like there's this like hidden treasure, you know, that people don't know about if you like follow along the path of like faith, you know. So we'll put a big money bag down here. It's my picture. I can do whatever I want. So I'm kind of just going to throw in... We'll just throw in like a fat bag. It'll just be kind of like a big fat sack. And we'll even put some like fruits. We'll put like a nice, just a bunch of like nice stuff down underneath here. And that's what it'll kind of represent for our picture, like I said. Kind of like if you stick with it, we'll put some coins on the ground so it's kind of clear it's a money bag. I don't really want to put in like the full-on like dollar symbol. I feel like that's a little much. Although I could. Maybe I will if the rest of the picture turns out fitting that. We'll put a bunch of money under the table. So like I said, it's kind of like hidden away. Like oh, it's like this hidden... You guys get the point. I'm even going to put a crown over here. Kind of fits. And same deal. It's like this hidden... I put the crown down here because it's kind of like this hidden like glory, you know? Like if you stick with it, you have these like riches. Riches like hidden away for you. Yeah, exactly. Hidden treasure. And we'll shade that in. I don't want to go too high contrast. This is a really good example of what, in my opinion, is like a mistake beginning painters make, where like you're working on something like this and you're like, oh, this is tucked away, it's in shadow, so I'm going to load up my brush and get this as dark as possible down here, right, because it's in the shadow. But actually, that's not really what you want to do, even though that would be true like in real life. You want to make it low contrast, so I'm just going to really low contrast shade it out here. Because as I say, probably at least once an episode, high contrast, where dark is touching light the most, that's telling the viewer's eye that that's like what's important. So we actually don't want it to be like the highest area of contrast down here. Even what I just put in might be a little much, but it's all good. Nice, that looks dope. And I think we will put some kind of pattern on this tablecloth. I knew we were going to deploy. That's perfect. That's actually literally exactly how I wanted it. I knew we were going to deploy some kind of pattern, but I think we'll kind of deploy a little rose pattern on here. There's a medieval rose pattern that I really like. They call it a rose pattern, but it doesn't look like a rose. But for us, it will be. And it's just like this. It's a really little simple rose, and I like it because it's a cross, but it's like a nice manifestation of the cross. Little flower, so it's like a hidden cross. Also, the rose is perfect because I guess somehow the table kind of represents the foundation for this stuff. You know, you got the Eucharist on there. You got... oh, I should have put bread on the table. Shit. Maybe I will still. All these nice things over here. And it's all kind of resting on the foundation of the table. But also the rose, especially a red rose, represents Christ's passion. So it's kind of like resting on that foundation like of the passion, I guess. Perfect. If we wanted to go really hard, the thing is we have a really nice like timeless feeling going on. I don't think we'll do this, but it would be tight if we had like outside in the window like an ambulance or something like driving by. That would be really sick, and then you could have the red cross on the ambulance. I don't think we'll do that because it's very like modern symbol, but that would be kind of cool. Okay, perfect. That looks perfect. Loving how this looks. And then to balance off that high contrast, I'm just going to drop in some little red. little red flecks. What I normally do actually is I put them 4 together like that. So it's another little like hidden cross, I guess you could say, but I'll also just put in some little random ones by themselves. Also got to get some up on the table so the eye will read the pattern in there. Cool. That's dope. Yo, this is looking sick, in my opinion. Okay, now we got to come back to the you know, we're doing this so tight. Maybe we probably won't even fill out the whole frame. Honestly, we're working a lot tighter than I thought we would, but I'm really feeling it. Okay, and let's see. You know what I was thinking that might be kind of crazy, honestly, but I feel like we should do it. Is I kind of want to put Noah's Ark behind her. I know that that's weird, but I feel like that just really fits. You know, maybe it's because of how I think of like faith and stuff, but you know, it has God promising not to flood the world, God punishing evil. It's part of Genesis, and I feel like it's kind of cool to have this like modern person, and then it's like tied in with Genesis. So I feel like that's what we're gonna do. And also, faith is kind of like an ark. It's kind of like a vessel, in a way. So I feel like we should just do that. My intuition is telling me, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay. And we could do a lot of stuff here. I think that because it's, you know, kind of like hidden away in the background, I want to put a little emphasis on, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to lighten up my pigment load on the brush. That means I'm going to have less of the colored stuff on the brush. And I'm just going to come in and kind of paint in these fat, kind of like chunky ocean slices. Yeah, that's good. Let's see, get a little bit more in here. Perfect, perfect. And we'll kind of just build up to like having a little more contrast. This is going to be too much, but we gotta make things starting to happen over here. Perfect, perfect. So that gives us a nice kind of like pattern behind her. Boom. And we'll get it going over here too. And then we'll make it a little bit of a darker line. I can't fully step into like, there we go, perfect. Painting realm, but I think that that's pretty good actually. Everyone likes a boat painting. That's really funny. Someone said that in the chat. That's true. And now I really don't want to sort of step over the line here and make it too dark, but I also don't want to make it too light. So let's say it should be good. And we're just going to have a big arc back here. I'm probably not going to make happen what I want it to happen, where there's a halo behind her, but you know, you can't do everything you want. Oh, I got something on my freaking glove. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Roll with the I'm gonna change my glove really quick just in case. Finally got new blue gloves, no more serial killer vibe. And when we put in this arc, I kind of want to get the dove in the sky. I feel like that's like a really good part of the story. Ugh. Man, putting gloves on once you've already been wearing gloves is just, it's just brutal. It's just brutal. So yeah, let's see, let's zoom out a little bit. We'll put in this painting, we'll put in the veil, we'll put in the floor and stuff like that. And we'll kind of be good. I don't even know if we'll get to the window. We probably will, actually. What I'll do is I'll put I'll put a cross between the painting and the window. So it's kind of like marrying Genesis. It's kind of like marrying the biblical story with today. Between the Old Testament picture and today will be this cross hanging on the wall. And that's pretty cool symbolically, if you ask me. Perfect. And you can see, hold on a second, I should make sure I don't mess this up. And you can see what I always talk about, where how like ideas come out of the creative process while you're working. I probably say this every other episode, but people always think you need the ideas when you sit down to work, so then they never sit down to work because they're like, oh, I'm just waiting for the ideas. But if you watch the show, you know that's not how it works. You have to be like actually doing the thing to get the ideas. So that's a perfect example. What I've sat down and thought, like, oh, I'll have a crucifix hanging on the wall between a painting of the Old Testament and a window because it's the bridge between Old Testament times and today. No, but that's pretty cool, and I probably will use that in another painting. I'm going to give it these big kind of like up windows. It's kind of like archy windows over here. Perfect. And I'll kind of just shade them in. I'm going to make them a little fuzzy. I don't want this picture to be as crisp as everything else if I can manage that. And I'll just kind of paint in. I want to get a little dry brush on the stripes over here. I'm not going to get it, but perfect. Cool. That's good. We'll get some figures on the boat. Just like little, like what are they figures? Just like little things on the boat. People kind of poking out and stuff like that. Cool. It's perfect. And we're obviously going to throw in a rainbow. Doesn't really fit that there would be a rainbow while they're on the boat, but, you know, call the Bible imagery police if you want. So we're just going to throw down this rainbow. I feel like faith, you know, we are doing an allegory of faith, has something to do with like God's promise, you know, to us. Yeah, it looks dope. Looks dope. Nice and subtle. And then we're going to put, actually just like in the intro to the show, if you watch that, we'll put a little blackbird up in the sky. And we'll put a white bird up in the sky. Oh, that's perfect. It's almost too high contrast, but it does draw your eye right in, so that's perfect. And then, what would be really sick, let's do it. Let's not play it safe. What would be really cool, I was going to say, is if we have like a branch up here like in the foreground. This is a very like Japanese painting thing, where they'll have like a scene in the back, and then in the front there's like a branch like in the foreground. Like there's this tree like right up against the, oh man, it goes into the frame. That's fine. And we'll put like a dove on that branch. It's cool though. Just kind of like shade it out. It's not a big deal. So there's this dove like sitting in the foreground of the picture. And we'll try and get that foreground effect because it'll be so much more high contrast than everything else. So that's a fat dove, but it's okay. It's a little tail poking down. Nice. And we'll shade him a little bit so he fits in with the rest of the picture, but that actually looks really tight. And if we get this brown color in like he's shaded, it'll look like he's part of the rest of the picture. Perfect. Perfect. We'll shade in the rainbow too. We gotta shade it in a little bit. Cool. Cool. Man, that's dope. I'm really pleased with that actually. That looks really, really cool. Okay, we got kind of a big decision to make right now because I have to decide. I actually really, really like how the camera is set up right now. Maybe we need to move it up a little bit more. I don't want to zoom all the way out again because I feel like that was actually too much room. So I'm probably going to use the boundary of the camera. Let's see. It goes up to here. It's actually about where the line is. So it's fine. It's fine. Who cares? Okay. So now let's put in the curtain coming down and around. In his, it comes off the picture, but in ours, it's going to pool up right over here. It's going to like pool up on the floor. We have to decide what color we want to make the curtain. And we have kind of a big call because we've used red, yellow, and blue. If we use another color, like if we use green, then it's going to be like, well, everything has to be a different color then. We could use this, oh shit. We could use orange, which is kind of like, this orange is called Orange Lake, so it kind of functions as like a different kind of red. I'm kind of torn, man. I'm kind of torn. But something's telling me to use this Orange Lake deep, and then maybe we'll make the window outside green. Just go for it. Worst case scenario, this becomes like kind of a cool idea for another picture. Let's see, do we want to use this color? I'm picturing it. Yeah, I think it'll be dope. Let's go for it. So I'm just going to kind of come in, and I want to make sure oh man, is anything wet here? No. So I'm going to actually, I can't tell if I should start at the bottom or at the top, man. I can't tell. Let's start at the bottom. And we'll kind of have it come perfect. So we're going to have this veil kind of coming around through. Man, orange really was the perfect color there, because it kind of reads as red, but it's also its own color. And we'll kind of have it perfect, pooling around the bottom. Perfect, perfect. Oh, it's great. I pushed it into the dry brush up here. I feel like that was a good call. Now the question for us is really how we want to handle the curtain, because I'm obviously going to put in at least one or two of these like big folds on it, but at the same time I do want to get like one image on it. Let's see, maybe I can get away with this. Yeah. Oh, yes. And since I kind of put in this weird fold here, yeah, perfect. All right, we just got the drapery look we were going for. And actually, you know, I'm going to push it a little bit more. I just want one more, like, yeah, that's perfect. maybe. I keep saying that I'm going to stop, but yeah. I actually think that's good. I think that's good. I'm going to stop. And I want to paint in something on here. I really like we talked about, the man leading the horse, because that's such a perfect allegory for faith. So there we are going to stick with Vermeer. And I really like how he did it. We looked at it a second ago, where it's kind of painted in like it's a tapestry. I'm skeptical that I'm almost skeptical that without color, I'll be able to really get that look where it's very clearly a man with the horse. So I guess I just have to be bold, though. I kind of have to just trust that I'm going to be able to communicate that and just go for it. So I am just going to go for it. So what I'm going to do is, let's start down here. I'm just going to throw in some patchwork. I'll have a little bit of a rift there. And I'm going to put in the man. I guess the nice thing is that if it doesn't look good, we can just kind of paint over it and pretend it wasn't supposed to be anything. So look at his body in here. And I'm kind of going to paint it in, like I just said, with these strokes. On camera, can you tell us something? Not really. So maybe we'll make it a little bit darker. Well, let's see. I gotta kind of trust that, like, when I'm communicating it, it'll come through. Let's see though. Can't really tell. You can almost tell it's a person. I think we need to fill it in a little bit more. Yeah, that's perfect. So we'll kind of just fill it in, this guy. Yeah, let's see. And then we'll kind of have the cord coming off his hand. Yeah, it's pretty good. We want it to be subtle. Like someone would really have to like look at the picture to see that this is here. Then for the horse, we'll just kind of paint in his head. And we'll kind of come down into the body. Yeah, perfect. This is good. Yeah, that's really good. Nice. And we'll just kind of have one of the horse's legs. Normally I would kind of put him in like a crazy pose, but I want it to be really obvious. Not obvious. I just, I can't push it too hard because of the format that we're working with here, where I'm kind of trying to paint it so it looks like it's like a tapestry. And we'll just kind of let it bleed out a little bit, Like that's like the horse's body, but kind of. I really like that little vignette right there. That's perfect, man. It's perfect. And we're just gonna just keep pushing that for the rest of this little tapestry painting over here. Maybe the horse is being led out of darkness, so we'll throw a little moon over here. It's kind of like at the end, someone maybe wouldn't even notice that there's patterns and stuff in here, but like for us, we want them to be like woven in. Over here, we'll put a sun. So the guy's leading the horse from like dark to night. And since we want it to look like tapestry-like, we'll kind of just get some more patterns going. Around here, we'll kind of just make these sun rays coming off this guy. That's pretty good. That's really good, actually. This is dope. Okay, but we need more stuff. We need way more stuff because we have all this room. You know what else is in the tapestry way in the background, but that I really think of as a perfect kind of allegory for faith? Is a castle. So I'm going to throw in a little castle right here. I think that's perfect. No one said anything in the chat for a really long time, so if someone wants to say something just so I know that everything is still going well. I can see the green light. So maybe people are just enraptured by our faux tapestry painting session over here. And we'll throw in like this will be perfect. We'll throw in a big arched window. And I want to put a candle in the window. Everything's looking good. Thank you, not a bear. Accurate username. Okay, so we'll throw in this candle over here. Perfect. Hello, subtlety department. Hello, epically subtle department. And we'll throw in some bricks just to get a little. What time is it? Oh, perfect. Perfect. This is great. Throw in some bricks. I'll shade in some of this a little bit, but otherwise, this is perfect. It's perfect. Great. Someone said watermelon. We're looking good. Perfect. I feel like the castle is just such a perfect symbol for faith because I don't know where I got this quote from, but I heard someone say, maybe I didn't hear it, but I had it in one of my sketchbooks. You should cultivate strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. Sounds like a quote from like an anime or something. I don't know where that came from, but I thought about that a lot. I think that's really true, you know. It's like you build up this like citadel, really badass word, but you build up this like citadel of like faith, basically, you know. And then when you really need it, you have it. So the castle's a really good metaphor for that. And there's like the light in the castle. It's perfect, basically. It's perfect. And down at the bottom, we have a little room over here. It'd be cool to put a little like animal or something down here. But what animal? I mean, something like fleeting. Oh, a deer. Perfect. A deer. It's perfect. St. Augustine uses a deer as a metaphor for... It's probably not going to look like a deer. I'm just putting that right off the bat because I'm shading in these big chunks. So don't get too excited. It's probably going to look like a generic four-legged animal. But, you know, whatever. St. Augustine uses the deer as a metaphor for like the soul thirsting after God. The way a deer will like run through the forest, you know, going around all the trees and ducking in and out of thickets and all that stuff just to like get to the river and like finally have some water. I think that's pretty cool. As predicted, it's going to look like a generic quadruped animal, but I said that was going to happen, so whatever. I'll probably throw in some like antlers or something. And I also always think of the deer symbolism like in Buddhism and Eastern art and stuff, but oh yeah, yo, someone's right. That quote is from the Desiderata poem. Yeah, you're right. That is where it's from. I think I actually found that in my dad's yearbook when I was looking at my dad's yearbook, which would make sense with that time period, I think. Anyway, you know, I kind of want to put antlers on it, but then I feel like that's such a different vibe. So I might just kind of be okay with this, like, you know, ambiguous quadruped animal, and we'll know it's a deer. I'll put in some antlers. I'll cave to my need for the audience to know. Wants to hear about that. Am I back? I am, right? Man, I don't know why that keeps happening, but it's all good. Perfect. I think I'm back, right? Can we get a confirmation? Can we get it? Can we get it? You're back. Cool. Did you hear what I said? It's because I said Buddha. Oh, fuck, I said it again. It's because I said the B word. God was like, you're done with your internet connection. That's not why I gave you internet, he said. He said, don't take it over that far. And I said, all right, I'm sorry, my bad. Okay. Cool. I'll get my internet checked out when I get back. But this is only happening every like 10 episodes, so I think it's cool. Okay, anyway, let's keep it moving on that note. So I'm going to put dark brown, definitely dark brown, crucifix on the wall over here. Should I make it dark brown? I could make it blue like her. We're wading into some interesting territory here. Let's see. I'll use Prussian blue. We're kind of at the point where we kind of have to start like recycling colors, I guess you could say. Let's see. I think I'm not going to put in a crucifix. I'm just going to put in a cross. Let's put in dark blue, because then we kind of have an interesting thing going where like the cloth stuff that's hiding things is red, and then the crucifix plus her can be kind of like blue, you know. So let's see how it goes. Someone said low res mode. If it doesn't pick back up, it should pick back up. I have this little thing where I can see how like hard I'm transmitting, and it says it's fine. It says it's back at like 3,000 or whatever. So, but if it doesn't pick back up, we can see what the deal is. So I'm just going to kind of paint this crucifix here. A cross here, and I'm also going to use that to cover up my mistake because I accidentally got some paint on the paper, and this is a really convenient way to hide that, honestly. Cool. Perfect. So I'll kind of throw this in here. Perfect. I actually did upgrade my internet, just for the record, because I care about the quality of the show. But we'll see. Maybe it's my computer. I'll figure it out later. I kind of hate when people talk about like tech problems while you're watching them stream, so as long as it's working, we can just kind of roll with it. Okay, cool. So I painted that in. It's a little dark, so I'm kind of just going to dab it up really quick. Don't want it to be that dark. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is, it's just like hanging on the wall. The cross itself is like such a, I don't want to say obvious symbol, but like, you know, it kind of like screams out for attention because, I mean, for a variety of reasons. I think there's like partially a theological reason for that. But we don't need to like make it too dark. That actually looks perfect. It's like shadowy and hanging on the wall. Perfect. Maybe I will just come back in with a little bit of darkness just because symbolically it would be kind of cool to have the dark and the light, you know, on the cross, but really I'm doing it to cover up that painting mistake I made before. Okay. Man, this is looking sick. I'm really pleased with how this is turning out. Okay, so we have perfect timing. It's 8:25, and I want to hit two more things, really. I want to hit the window outside and the floor, and then that's pretty much going to be it. The window outside, maybe we should use green, like Viridian. Let's do it. I'm going to throw down this dark green. And then we'll kind of just make the scene outside. I don't really know exactly what we'll have going down outside. Yeah, I don't know. Is green going to change it up too much? No. I say we go for it. Let's just go for it. I don't know. I'm hesitant about the green. Now that I've hesitated, I'm really wondering. Let's see. We can do it this way. I can see what the color looks like on this piece of napkin here. And honestly, I think it'll look pretty chill. I feel like we should do it. I feel like it'll keep expanding the palette in a good way. It's a really cool green too. I could mix a little blue in. I'll mix a little bit of blue in. That'll make me feel better about it. So it'll kind of be like a dark blue-green. It'll kind of register as blue, but still different enough. Get this out of here. Okay, and let's see, how much room do we have? So I'll kind of start up here. Perfect. And I guess for the sake of the composition, I'm going to have it coming off the edge, or at least just kind of like fading out to the right. Perfect. I actually really like how that looks, so we're just going to roll with it. And then outside, I feel like I'm kind of just going to freestyle what's going on outside. I don't want it to be too high contrast, like I've been saying, so we'll throw down some like bushes outside. In order to make it look like there's a lot of, you know, space and stuff out here, we'll kind of just freeform the stuff that's right up against the window. Could be cool to have a road outside. There's certain like outdoor symbols that I always use. Yeah, this looks really good, in my opinion. We'll set down a horizon. Yeah, let's do it. We'll set down a horizon. We'll have a kind of road that's like coming off and around over here. That fits like allegory of the faith situation. You know, it's like a path that you walk, wide path, narrow path, all that stuff. So that's looking pretty good. We'll throw in a little shading for the grass. Nice. I kind of feel like I should have another like flighty animal outside, so I'm going to put a rabbit outside. And I'm going to use a rabbit because I like using a rabbit to represent what I'm going to represent right now. This is a freaking huge rabbit, but it's all good. Because the main marker, the main characteristic for the rabbit is its big ears. And that communicates that it's a creature of prey. You know, things attack it. It has no real defense mechanism on its own. All it can do is like run away. And I feel like if we're thinking about faith and like allegory of faith, that kind of like has a relationship to it. You know, no matter how strong and powerful you feel, you kind of are like that. Ultimately, you know, you can't really do that much, right? You feel like you can, but you can't really. Throw some flowers out here, but really that's almost kind of enough with just the rabbit. Perfect. I'll kind of throw down a little bit of dry brush. There we go. So that's kind of how I use the rabbit in my art. It would have been cool to get a fox in somewhere else. I could put a fox over here, like a predator animal. Yeah, let's do that actually. And I'll do it in kind of like the dark green. Oh yeah, putting a rock outside. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea actually. I think we will do that. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of discreetly put in like a little hunty animal over here. Like maybe it's Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a little hunty animal. People can't really tell. That's perfect, actually, what I just did. Yeah. So it almost looks like just a little blob, but we'll know it's a hunting animal. It's kind of ambiguous. I like that. Like, is it a wolf in the distance? Like, what is it? And we'll put this rock outside, as per that really good suggestion someone said. It's kind of going to look like a bush, I guess, but I'll shade it so it looks like a rock, so people can tell it's a rock. Perfect. What else are we going to put outside? Put a tree, kind of like a reference, tree from the Bible. Trees grow over time. Kind of perfect, fitting reference. We'll kind of just have it, that's where the picture will start to kind of like fade out a little bit. And then sky style, I want to put in kind of like a lightning bolt, but I feel like that's going to make it too like illustrative-y. We kind of have a nice like drawing space going on here. So I'm going to put in a dark cloud. That also kind of obviously fits for the faith thing. You know, kind of always waiting for that dark cloud, but it's like almost not really an illusion because the dark cloud really exists, but it's set against like the huge open expanse of the sky, you know. And we'll put a sun in too. Yeah, someone said sunset. I was really thinking about that. And you said sunset or sunrise. It's kind of a good thing. Sometimes I intentionally make it ambiguous, so we're kind of just going to do that. Let's drop in the sun right there. And it'll be a little ambiguous. Who cares? And I kind of like when it's ambiguous because you can kind of read into that, like, is it a sunset or sunrise? In a way, like the person viewing the picture like has to decide that. So I kind of like that in a way. It sounds really pretentious and weird, I guess, but I kind of like that. Dope. Let's just leave it. That looks sick. Honestly, that looks tight. And let's see. So last thing I really want to make sure we hit is the ground. And honestly, what I'm thinking is we should make here's what I'm thinking is that the platform she's on, it was kind of like a platform with like cloth, which makes it easy to draw. We'll make it green. I mean, right? And then we'll put in the tiles and we'll be good to go. I mean, I could make, actually, you know, once I imagined it, I think we'll make the platform she's on brown. It'll kind of marry with the brown back there. We'll do burnt sienna though. It'll be kind of like a warm brown. It's kind of cool not mixing any colors. Actually, now that I'm seeing burnt sienna on the palette, you guys can see it. It's a little, not really the color I was looking for. I think burnt umber. This is like a more like, this is like dark chocolate brown. So I think this is really the color that we're going to be looking for. It's also cool, as you can see, drawing with the pigments because they each have a different character as you lighten them up and let the paper shine through them. And learning how each one handles is kind of part of the process of like painting and what makes it interesting. You know, especially with the blue, like I knew this would be a safe bet because it looks really nice once you get these like big patches over here and the colors like shining through. You can see how good the globe looks down here. We're kind of perfectly on schedule. It's 8:35. Dope. So yeah, we'll put her on this platform. I'm going to make a safe bet and just kind of come in back here with this platform. Kind of have it taper off over there. And over here. Perfect. It'll come down. Cool. Kind of make it a little bit more clothy, I guess. Just kind of have it coming around. Perfect. And I guess the way we'll communicate that it's up is like shading it in a little bit. I'll just throw a little bit of this shading in. Yeah, but we need a little bit more contrast. We need it to show that it's like up on like a platform. That's pretty good. I really like that color. I was actually kind of worried about the brown, but I think it looks tight. And we'll kind of, oh shit, it's really dark. Yeah, whatever. And we'll kind of throw a shadow in the back, and we'll see how much we can make it look like it's elevated. We'll see how that's going to work out, but we'll make it kind of dark back here. I've kind of broken my own rule that I just explained before, where I wanted to make something look like it was in shadow, so I threw down the contrast really hard, but I felt like I needed to. I felt like otherwise it wasn't going to look like it had any distance. Because I really want to set down, actually that's what I'm going to do right now. I really want to set down this like dividing line. It's almost like there's a line here. Perfect. Where she's up on top. That's actually exactly what we needed. That was perfect. And I'll throw down some shadow back here. Perfect. Nice. Dope. Yeah, look at this back here. It looks really good. Oh, yo, Peter's here. What's up, man? Yeah, this looks dope back here. And we'll kind of just throw down a little. So ideally, we have this darkness back here. I'd like to dial it back a little bit and just throw in the slope like this. You can kind of imagine like a cloth thing over like a low platform. Yeah, it's pretty good. We're not going to get exactly. Looks pretty good actually. We'll come down a little bit over here. Yeah, I'm kind of cool with that. I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I think the one part that maybe just needs a little attention is where the ball touches, because I wanna draw the viewer's eye right there, and you can see actually right when I did that, in my opinion, it really kind of like stepped up a little bit. We'll even go a little bit darker. Perfect. Oh, looks great. If you just saw me do that, so like a lot of times if you're drawing and you're looking at something and you're like, it's not really doing like what I want it to do, you want to make it just like more clear. You know, like I was looking at this part over here and I'm like, oh, it's like the shading really communicating like that this is it's not really like, doesn't really matter. Like the eye just wants something nice and clear to look at. So I shaded it in over here. When you're looking down here, your eye goes right here and it's like, boom, yeah, that sphere is resting on this thing. Cleared it up so much. So much. It's dope. And let's see. Man, I really like how this is looking. We have time for like, I guess, you know, we can put one more element over here and then I'll throw in the checkerboard and then we're going to be good, man. We're going to be good on that. I really like that chair and I like the different things it kind of represents. So I think we should throw down the chair. It's naturally going to ask us what color, and let's do another blue. Let's do cobalt blue. She's the only blue thing right now, and I'm really wondering how much I want to mess with that, though. It looks so dope that she's like the only blue thing. I could make it green. I'm imagining that, and that does sound kind of tight. Let's see. Maybe sap green? No. I don't know. Almost. We're almost there. Oh, I could make it a dark red. Yo, alizarin crimson might about to be coming through right now. Let's see. We'll either make it viridian or alizarin crimson. Those two colors are like literally opposites on the color wheel. Let's see. I feel like everyone must just be like watching really hard because no one's talking in the chat, which is like totally cool with me. I'm actually kind of like absorbed myself. I feel like this would be the perfect color. The problem though is that this cloth is red and I want it to stand out as its own element. So I feel like we shouldn't make it red. Part of my gut is telling me it should be green. Should we just go for it? Should we just make it green? Let's make it green. That's what my gut is telling me. Maybe I'll make it a little bit more green than this blue green that we have over here. So I will mix in some of the sap green. I think that's going to be a good call. I don't want to expand into colors like purple or something like that. I'd be kind of nervous about doing that, honestly. So we're not going to do that. Yeah, it's a bold call, but I think bold calls will pay off. I'm going to tone it down with viridian as much as possible, and then we're just going to go for it. I feel like it is a really good call. Feels a little risky, but that's how you know it's a good idea. Okay, and for the chair, I really want it to be clear that it is a chair. And I really liked what someone said in the chat about how it's like an open invitation. So we're going to make it facing the viewer. So I'm actually just going to throw down that line. Perfect. Not coming out too much further, but just a tiny bit further. Perfect. Perfect. And for this one, I'm not trying to do anything fancy. I honestly just want it to be really clear that it's a chair, because we've come so far. So I'm just going to play it totally safe. Maybe that's kind of lame, but like I said, I just want it to be really clear that it's a chair. Also, because it's a chair, it kind of has to be a little 3D. I wouldn't say it makes me nervous, but like I said, I just want to make sure it's very clear. Nice. Nice. Perfect. And we'll come down with a little, and I'll shade this in so it won't be sticking out like a sore thumb so much, but feeling pretty good about that. Perfect. Truly could not have asked for that to be better. Perfect. And we'll come down a little bit here. If anyone came in late, we're jumping off of Vermeer's Allegory of Faith. Sometimes people come in late. If you want to pull it up on your phone or something, that's what we're jumping off of. Okay, cool. And we'll come down. And yeah, I really like the chair as like an open invitation. I thought that was a really smart thing, whoever said that. That looks dope. And I'm going to really subtly just kind of shade it in a little bit. Don't want it to be too much. Just like the shadow of the veil is being cast on it. Come down a little bit over here. Yeah, it's perfect. And then it's also kind of cool because then the chair is like partially in shadow. You know, it's like partially concealed by the veil. Like you have to pull it back. Like I don't know. You could read a lot of stuff in there. Also, the symbols we put on the veil represent like, you know, being led, being safe. You know, man, that looks great. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Okay, throwing a little bit more shadow though because I shaded out the whole chair. Yep. Yep. Oh, man. I'm loving how this is looking right now. All right, and I think, man, we're doing perfect on time. It's 8:44. It was ordained in some sense, maybe. You don't want to jinx it yet, but the last thing Bro, I literally said I don't want to jinx it, and then it happened. It's all good. It's all good. We're back though, right? We are back, says KBS 3000. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I really feel like the color on the floor, I feel like it's kind of crazy, but I almost feel like the cadmium yellow checker. Maybe yellow is too much though. Maybe I should take that intuition about yellow and make it orange checker on the floor. That would look really dope with her. She's blue, the orange checkerboard. When I was first planning this out, honestly, you know, I thought that we'd do a really pale checkerboard on the bottom. So that's what we're going to do. Let's stick with my first instinct. I'm really tempted to go with a really loud, warm color, but somehow I feel like I would regret it. I feel like cerulean blue is really the color we're looking for, and if you've been avidly following the show, you know that Winsor & Newton has denied me my cerulean blue. I am punished Owen. A man denied his cerulean blue, so I have to like, the tube in here is totally hard, and I have to like wet up the pigment like this. Like it's the freaking 1200s, but it's all good. I'm not mad about it, obviously. I don't care. I don't care that I bought 3 different tubes that were all like this. I'm not mad. Whatever. Okay. Let's just do this. This is not going to be like a huge, crazy thing. I just want to draw a line here. Well, it's way darker than I thought, but it's okay. That's the color I want. I want that pale color like that. So actually I have to be more careful than I thought. So it's coming across, it's coming across, it's coming across. Perfect. And I'll throw down more of the horizontal lines. So I've been doing a lot of checkerboard floors in my comics actually recently because certain members of my comic strip work in a gas station which has checkerboard floors. So I found it's good to do like maybe 1 or 2 the same width and then come in, get one with like a nice big gap. Perfect. I'll take that for sure. Ugh, I could even squeeze in one more if I raise the floor just a tiny bit. I feel like I should do that. So I'm just going to put one more. Perfect. Perfect. That's perfect. We can definitely work with that. And I'm not going to try and do anything too fancy. I'm just going to throw down the same slant. So I like to put one kind of like master one in. Boom. And then we'll come in and just kind of boom, boom. I know that one wasn't perfect, but it's not a big deal. Boom. And it's not a huge deal if these are imperfect because I'm kind of going to paint them in a little bit more loosely than the rest of this stuff anyway. Boom, 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 boom. Perfect. And let's see, I just want to make this honestly as light as possible. Let's see if I just come in. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get the effect that I want. Perfect. Someone said it's their favorite thing they've done on this. My favorite thing they've done on the stream. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. I was feeling like it was time to try something new. This kind of like drawy painting style at the same time is like really good for I feel like what we do here, you know, because we can talk about like every little thing and it's still painterly, but it's also drawing. It's a good move. Perfect. Let's come in here. So you get a little more pigment going on. Can you guys see my brush? Oh, I'm off camera. Doesn't matter. Perfect. Perfect. And it's kind of cool too because we've actually really just been talking about the painting process the whole time. We haven't really even been talking that much. Hope that's cool with everyone. No revolt in the comments section yet. I guess one thing I can say that's interesting, you know, I like to have some interesting ideas woven into us painting and working, is that this is actually a really perfect example of how it's like totally a coincidence. Sometimes people ask me like, you know, oh, like, so like, did you look at cartoons and like comics to like get your style? But like, really, I didn't. I never really was into that stuff at all. From what we've done here, you can kind of see that there's a natural overlap between like really hyper simplifying stuff, and then you kind of naturally end up in this like very illustrative world. You know, someone could look at this girl's face and be like, oh, it's like a comic or something, right? But to me, it's like I'm jumping off of like 4th and 5th century like manuscripts and stuff like that. I'm not like thinking of it as a comic. Okay, let's see. Just wanna... Perfect. So we'll finish shading this out. And I think we're going to be good. At first, I really didn't like that I made those squares darker, but actually, now that I'm looking at it on the camera, it looks really good. Almost kind of have it fade out here, man. Have it fade out on the side. Man, I am loving how this looks. I forget if I read it, but someone said this is super classy style. Thanks, man. You know, honestly, I feel like I got to call it right there. I feel like it's crazy for me to keep push. Oh, wait, yo, there's one more thing. There's one more thing we need. I'm going to really lightly... Oh, it's perfect. We have the cobalt blue. If you've been watching the whole time, you know what has to go down right now. I'm going to throw in the bubble. We need a bubble floating in the air, and then we're done. That's it. That's the last thing, and I'm going to put it right here. Let's see. I'm going to put it right here. Perfect. But I am going to lighten it because it's a little dark. That was a pretty bold move, just throwing down the paper towel, but I think it's okay. Oh, perfect. It's literally perfect. Let's get the water. I just want to throw a little shade in the bubble. Throw a little shade. You got to. But not too much. It's perfect. That's it. That's the picture. Nice. Nice. I'm looking at it on camera, so I'm seeing what you guys are seeing. And you know what else I realized? That I gotta... At the end when I'm done, I realize, because I always press end and I wrap up the show, and then I move this, and then I'm like, oh, you can finally see the picture as it is, because this color mess isn't clouding your view anymore. So I want to make sure I start doing that at the end of the show. Man, honestly, that's it. That's it. That is definitely the end of that one. I guess I should technically shade it in back here a little bit more. Technically, the checkerboard should extend. I don't want it to draw attention, but if someone looks back here, I don't want it to look like a mistake. It's kind of what I'm thinking right now, but that's really all that needs to happen back there. Yeah, that's it. Oh, and I guess technically we should have just one back here. Yeah, that was it. Perfect. That's perfect. What's the bubble? We talked about it in the beginning, I think, maybe, but in like an image like this, it kind of represents like, bubble, it's real, but it has like almost no substantiality. It's there for a second, then it's gone. So it kind of represents like the transience of life and like how fragile it is. In case anyone came in like hyper super late. Actually, yeah, so this is perfect actually. We'll go back and look at the picture. We'll look at this and then we'll wrap it up. So I'm going to press desk cam and it's going to give you the Mandelbrot vision, fractal vision right now, but it's okay. So in case anyone came in late, or if you just, even if you didn't come in late, this is actually perfect to come back and look at it. So this is where we started. We were looking at Vermeer's allegory of the faith. So we can kind of come back here, and we jumped off a lot of the things that I liked about it. We got the circle with the earth and the picture in the back, and here's his bubble. It's a glass bubble. He didn't paint like a soap bubble or something. The table and the veil, and we got the guy leading the horse up here. I mean, we looked at this before, so I'm just kind of like refreshing our eyes. So we get it back in our eyes. We're looking at it. It's a great painting. And then we're going to come back into, boom, we got our own little, interpretation of it going on right over here. Man, that was really good. That was a really, really good one. Cool, and we're right on time. It's 8:54. If anyone, no one wants to ask me anything. I think everyone's all enraptured, I suppose. But yeah, like I always say, I always feel like I should do some kind of like wrap up at the end, but we were going over what the symbols mean and everything as we did it. I guess like surprise is that I didn't expect doing the style where I have like, it feels classy pointing with this, where I have like every element isolated in a different color. I haven't done that in so long, but I feel like it's really like efficacious. And it also, again, if you've been watching the whole time, kind of speaks to like what we started with at the beginning, where it's like, you kind of want to subtly communicate to the viewer that everything means something. So having them each isolated this way is really tight. I really love how this came out. I'm definitely going to do something with this. I'll make some image like this or something like that in the future. Cool though. Honestly, someone said the tapestry worked well. Yeah, up here, I just don't want to touch the painting and mess it up again. Up here, yeah, you're really getting the nice like woven effect that we wanted, and actually this like oversimplified kind of like folds and stuff really worked out really well. Got the deer. I like how everything came out, man. I really love how this turned out. This is probably one of the best ones so far, right? Am I right? I mean, I don't want to jinx it. Don't jinx it with the camera, but I like how this turned out. I love how she looks. It's perfect. So let's wrap it up, man. Let's just wrap it up. That's it. I guess that's all I really have to go over, honestly. We hit a really cool allegory. Maybe we'll do more stuff like this where we kind of jump off from like another image, like from I was gonna say from antiquity, but it's not that old, from Renaissance or whatever. But this is a really, really dope one, man. If you watched it, you're obviously watching it right now, but thanks for hanging out. I really love doing this, obviously. This was a really, really fun one. I was like 100% zoned in like the whole time, so maybe you could feel that while you were listening to me. And that's basically it, man. I really love doing this. I love that people watch it, come through to hang out. We keep escalating it. This was an escalation. We leveled up a little bit here, so we'll see how far we can keep pushing the envelope. And that's it, man. We're right on time. It's 8:56. So thank you for coming through on the painting hour. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being interested both in this and also in general spiritual matters that transcend the show, exist outside the show, that are probably the most important thing going on right now. Battling the forces of evil. Now we're going back to it. We're going back to the chessboard of life. That's the show, though. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you had a good time. It was really fun for me. And I'll see you guys on the internet where we all hang out together. See you guys later.